Ben Greenfield on the Entrepreneur Fitness Podcast today. Thank you so much for coming on, my man.
Hey, what's up? I have hopped off of my treadmill so that I'm not bouncing around, but I do have my treadmill set up next to me here. As you can see, I don't do podcast interviews on it though, just because it's distracting, but it's good for articles and phone calls and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm at the home office. I've been here about I think 3 days out of the past month, just because I've been on the road so much. But it's good to be home and talking to you.
Dude, I am really excited for this conversation. I know my audience is going to love it as well, because that's exactly what I want to dive into today with you, man. Before I start asking you all these questions about how you're able to travel and maintain, that sexy physique you got, man, and your positive emotional and mental states and able to be so productive, would you give my audience a quick little background about what Ben Greenfield is about, if they already don't know about you, and who you are?
Sure. When people ask me that when I'm sitting next to them on an airplane, I just tell them I'm an author, because that's easier than saying I'm a blogger and a podcaster and all those other things that are hard to explain to some 60-year-old woman sitting next to you on a plane. But yeah, I primarily write. I freelance write for magazines and websites. I write books. I have a New York Times bestseller out right now called Beyond Training, about nutrition, workouts, biohacking, stuff like that. I'm a father of a couple of twin boys and live up in Spokane, Washington, with my wife. We basically spend most of our time churning out healthy living videos for a membership website that we have, where we teach people how to eat healthy, how to kind of homestead, whether they live in an urban environment or out in the forest like us. And just my whole lifestyle is based around teaching people via my writing, my podcasting, my videos, etc., how to really get onto the bleeding edge of performance, whether that's mental performance or physical performance, but also how to stay healthy and work in a lot of anti-aging concepts while they're doing it. It's my primary goal in life is to live a really long time, but also do a lot of really cool things while I'm living a long time, from adventure racing to mountaineering to obstacle races to triathlons, just to live life at not necessarily as fast a pace as possible, but to at least engage in a lot of what the world has to offer, everything from travel to adventures. And so I do that. I try to make enough money to support the family while I'm doing it. And then I also, at the same time, take care of my body so that I can do it for a really long time.
Awesome, man. And I've seen some of the stuff that you've done, and I just get tired just reading about it. So it's impressive, man. It's super impressive. And so you got this killer business, you're contributing, you're adding a ton of value, but I know it's also, very time consuming, and it does take a lot of travel at times. So let's hop into talking about how are you able to manage this all? What kind of healthy habits do you have that allow you to do everything you do and travel and not be in a consistent, routine in your home office every day and stay so productive and healthy?
Speak of the devil, I'm looking at the label of this stuff I'm drinking right now. It's like a probiotic drink. I drink a lot of kombucha and kefir and stuff like that. And it's interesting because they just came out with a study that showed the effect of jet lag and airplane travel on your gut flora, on your microbiota, which is a huge topic of study now in health. And, just based off of the fact that your gut microbiome, or the bacteria in your gut and their health or lack thereof, affects your neurotransmitter production, the speed at which your neurons fire, so your mental productivity, as well as your immune system, because 90% of your immune system is in your gut. It affects, the way that your muscles function, because inflammation in the gut affects the nerves in the spinal cords, that affects all your appendages. So it's crazy. And that is one of the things that I do when I travel, is I try to take care of my gut. I know it's a weird place to start off, but if you look at it from a supplementation standpoint, for example, I use things that will control bad bacteria when I travel. Two essential oils that I travel with that I just put in my airplane bag when I check on. One is called oil of oregano, And that's a really potent, like antiviral, antibacterial. That's really, really good for keeping your immune system elevated when you're in crowds of large people. So I literally will just put that into my mouth, or I'll go up to the Starbucks at the airport and get like a big thing of water from them, and I'll drink that along with the water, or put it into a bottle of water. And then one other essential oil, a new one that I've been using recently, again, really, really fantastic for immune system support. We're recording this during kind of like the cold and flu season, where I've just been on the road nonstop, either in airplanes or buses or subways. And I use this blend called Thieves essential oil. You can Google it, but it's a traditional blend. It's like clove, rosemary, thyme, sage. I think there's some lemon in there, but it's a very, very popular blend, or has been for thousands of years, in terms of giving the immune system support. So when I travel, I'm really careful with my immune system, especially from a gut standpoint, because like getting sick when you're speaking, or just like being sick on an airplane or while you're traveling, just sucks, as any entrepreneur knows. So it gets in the way of productivity. So I do that, but then I also, in addition to controlling bad bacteria, germs, things of that nature with those two oils, I also, even though I don't take them a lot when I'm at home, I take like probiotic pills when I travel. So just like a good heat stable probiotic. Most of the probiotics you buy at the grocery store are crap. They're not supposed to be unrefrigerated. Like probiotics, if you order them, they should arrive at your house refrigerated, like most probiotics. There are a few heat stable ones out there. Two of the blends that I use, because it's good to kind of switch back and forth between a couple different blends of bacteria. One is called Prescript Assist, and that's a soil-based bacteria. And then the other one is called Caprobiotics Advanced, which is a type of probiotic that doesn't need to be refrigerated. It's very heat stable when you travel. So for road warriors, that's a really, really good way to keep the good bacteria count in your gut up when you're traveling, which makes a night and day difference in, again, your immune system status and your immune system comfort. And then just while we're on the supplement bandwagon, I use like some antioxidants, because you build up a huge amount of free radicals when you're hurtling in a metal tube, 30,000 feet above planet Earth. I use glutathione. I actually use something very similar, like Dave Asprey's bulletproof protocol for this, because it works out pretty well. I use glutathione. I use something called PQQ, which is like a sublingual capsule that you put underneath the tongue, and then activated charcoal. And that's it. I do that before I travel, and I do it after I travel. And I'm not talking about like flying from like San Diego to LA, right? Like I'm talking about like flying over to like Tel Aviv and London, like, lots of airline travel across multiple time zones where you're subjected to radiation on a plane for long periods of time. That builds up a ton of free radicals in your body. So one way that you get rid of those free radicals is via using supplements, like antioxidant-based supplements, and glutathione, and if you Google it, PQQ, are two of the better ones to use when you're traveling, like before and after you travel. As far as like those free radicals and oxidation in the body, think of oxidation like rust. Like when you see a nail rust, that same thing is happening to your body when a lot of these free radicals build up. And so you can do things above and beyond just like supplements to fight free radicals. For example, when you look at this from a food standpoint, eating really sulfurous foods when you travel, super duper important. So if I go to like restaurants, if I order up from the hotel after I've gotten to my hotel room, I order stinky foods, like sulfurous based foods. Some foods that you would recognize as this would be like eggs. They're like good pastured eggs, broccoli, cauliflower, garlic, onions, like any of those kind of like cruciferous sulfur-based foods. Those are really, really good when you're traveling to fight against the type of inflammation that builds up when you're traveling. So ordering meals at a restaurant or from your hotel that are comprised of those type of like stinky sulfurous foods, really good idea. So, Brussels sprouts, onions, broccoli, cauliflower, all that jazz. In addition to that, from an activity standpoint, there are certain activities that can also quench these free radicals. One would be getting in touch with the planet Earth. So Earth actually emits what are called negative ions, and these help to reorient your electrochemical balance that gets put off when you're traveling. So the idea here, it's very, very simple math. Like everybody's cells, most of us know from high school biology or whatever, that our cells are covered in a membrane, and that our cells have all these little organelles inside of them. And all of these work on what's called an electrochemical gradient. and that gradient should technically be at about 70 millivolts or so. And when you're like on an airplane, ton of positive ions are generated when you're up on an airplane. Same thing when you're standing next to a Wi-Fi router, or when you have a cell phone held up to your ear. Same thing. These are all generating positive ions, and that dips that electrochemical gradient, right? It'll dip it to like 30 or 40 millivolts, and that's why a lot of times after a long flight or a day of travel, or even just like being at the office all day surrounded by cell phone signals and Wi-Fi routers, you feel a little bit blah. Like you almost feel a little bit of brain fog. Like if you want to go hit the gym after, right? It's harder to get motivated than it would be if you'd been like, working out in the morning, or not surrounded by all this stuff, or not having sat on an airplane. So the idea behind that is that your electrochemical gradient is off, and you have to expose yourself to negative ions to get yourself back up close to 70 millivolts. The best way to do that is to touch the earth. And I am that guy, especially if the weather's nice, who's like in the backyard garden of the hotel, or outside somewhere near the hotel, like in my bare feet, like touching the planet Earth. If I got to go to a meeting or walk around or whatever, there are shoe companies that actually make special kinds of shoes with carbon in the bottom, in the sole, that you can wear around when you first get to where you're going. That really help to restore that gradient too. Like there's one company called Plugs, like Pluggz. There's another one called Earth Runners. But if you want to dig into this concept more, just Google grounding or earthing. That's what this concept is, but it's like touching, like geology, like touching the planet Earth, because it does emit this wave. So if you're like in a building, not touching the ground all day long, not a good idea. You can, even when you're on an airplane, like when the airplane first lands, it's technically grounded. So if you've got your shoes off, or if they're not off, if you just slip one shoe off and you put your foot in touch with the metal chair that's like in front of you, that will help to ground you a little bit. But it's not as powerful as just like stepping off the plane, and once you get to your hotel, like getting your shoes off and going outside, and touching the ground barefoot. So a lot of times I'll just do like yoga barefoot at a hotel when I get there. The other thing that really helps is cold water. So taking like a cold shower, jumping in the pool when you get to where you're going. I'll even check into the airline lounge. Like I'll check into the United or Delta lounge a lot of times and take a cold shower in the lounge if it's a long flight or like an overnight or something like that, because cold water also helps with that electrochemical gradient. So that's another thing that I'll do to keep myself healthy when I travel. And then I also keep myself in shape. As far as workouts go, I'll use a combination of like hotel room workouts, really basic 5x5 workouts, and then yoga or foundation. So what I mean by those, as far as hotel room workouts go, typically I will just choose 5 bodyweight exercises. So there's a few different ways you can do this. You just choose them off the top of your head. Another couple of things I do is there's like a phone app called Safari Fit that actually has like a bunch of like bodyweight moves loaded into it, put into workouts that you can just grab. And then there's also this guy, I forget his name, but he makes these playing cards. They're called strength stack cards. And every time you deal a card, it's got a picture of a new bodyweight move on it. So you can just deal yourself 5 cards, right, in your hotel room. And then let's say you've got 20 minutes or 30 minutes before you know you got to be showered and out the door at a meeting or whatever. You cycle between anywhere from 10 to 20 reps of each of those 5 exercises as you're in your hotel room. Just boom, go. And for me, 5's the magic number, right? So I'll do like, whatever, mountain climbers, push-ups, burpees, jumping jacks, and then, dips on the end of the hotel bed. Just, through that as around till I'm done, my time's up, I take a cold shower and get dressed and go, to my meeting or wherever I got to go. So bodyweight exercises in the hotel room. The other thing I'll do them in is the stairwell at the hotel. So I will literally go to the bottom of the stairs. I'll run up to the first landing, push-ups on the first landing, run up to the next landing, squats on the next landing, run up to the next landing, push-ups, the next one, squats. It's a very, very simple workout. You can do at just about any hotel, especially if the gym sucks, is you just run up the stairs, and at every landing you stop and do a new bodyweight exercise. If it's in the gym, I'll typically work on strength, just because strong people are harder to kill, and having muscle has a lot of benefits, a lot of anti-aging benefits, and it's like body weight exercises are okay, but they don't get you strong, right? So one of the things that I do in my obstacle racing and, and Spartan race, stuff like that, like if I'm carrying 260-pound sandbags up a hill, doing push-ups in my hotel room does not get me ready for that kind of stuff. So generally, if I can hunt down a gym somewhere near a hotel or in the area that I'm traveling, I do a very basic 5x5 workout. So again, you could Google 5x5, that's 5x5, and see some sample workouts. But the main thrust of it is, and it's very easy to mentally wrap your head around, right? Like decision fatigue will slow you down. If you're looking for all these different workouts that you can do, it'll slow you down versus just having one memorized that you can get into any place in the world. Like I was just in Tel Aviv, right? So all I knew was I needed a hotel that or a gym that either had dumbbells or barbells or both. And that's all I need to do a 5x5 workout. And then some plates and make sure that it's heavy enough stuff. But 5x5 is typically 5 sets of 5 reps of 5 different full body exercises. So typically it'd be like squat, bench press, deadlifts, clean, and row, right? And you do 5 sets, 5 reps of each of those exercises. It's a very, very good way to stay strong. And I like it because I can kind of sort of turn my brain off and just make sure I wander into a gym that has heavy stuff and do it that way. And honestly, like my MO is I pull up on Google Maps and use the search nearby function, look for a gym, check to see on any of the reviews if they've got free weights. If they do, boom, done. And that's the gym that I'll go to a 5x5 at if I'm in a place for a couple of days and know that I need to visit the gym versus throwing down a hotel room workout. And then the other thing that I do is typically when I'm traveling is I'll try to do things that work my parasympathetic nervous system, which is like my rest or digest nervous system in the morning, and then my sympathetic nervous system or my fight and flight based nervous system in the afternoon or the evening. So what I mean by that is things like yoga, easy walks, exposure to sunshine, deep breathing, all that kind of stuff is in the morning. It really helps with digestion. It really helps to jumpstart your circadian rhythm, which is really important when you travel. And then when your body temperature peaks, your reaction time peaks, your post-workout, what's called protein synthesis, meaning your ability to utilize amino acids and rebuild muscle, all that peaks in the afternoon or the evening. So I'll do basically the easy stuff in the morning, hard stuff in the evening when it comes to the actual workout. I told you about some of the hard stuff just now as far as like body weight exercises, 5x5 or stuff like that. For the easy stuff, I'll alternate between either doing yoga, and I just have a yoga routine memorized. It takes me about 20 minutes to do. It's a series of what are called sun salutations and stretches, and I throw in a few little body weight moves, and that's it. And then another really, really good series of exercises. I work with a lot of CEOs and folks who are on planes, in cars a lot of the times. They complain a lot of sciatica and back pain and nerve pain because their hip flexors are constantly shortened from being in that seated position. And there is this book/DVD series called Foundation. It's written by a chiropractic doc named Eric Goodman. And it's a bunch of like isometric exercises. They're deceptively difficult, but they're all body weight. And they're just like these holds that you do that realign your body and open up your lungs and your rib cage. It's called Foundation series. So that's one that I've been doing almost more than yoga in the mornings when I wake up, just because it just like turns the whole body on, especially like the back and the butt and a lot of those postural muscles. So from a movement standpoint, those are some of the things that I do. From a lifestyle standpoint, the barefoot, a little bit of cold water exposure, that type of thing. And then from a supplementation standpoint and a food standpoint, like sulfurous antioxidants, and then also, taking care of the gut as far as like probiotics and oils go. So those are some of the biggies that I use when I travel.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much. And that was so much information. And so I'm going to have to definitely listen to this over again and take notes and consume it all. And I hope everyone who's listening does the same, because Ben consults for thousands of dollars an hour. And so you guys just got so much precious information right there that is incredibly beneficial. And so Ben, dude, I'm really curious though, to make this even more compelling, can you talk about some of the biggest shifts you saw when you started implementing these routines versus, when you used to travel and you didn't supplement the way you are now, and when you didn't support your digestive system, and when you didn't maybe stay as conscientious when it came to the exercise?
Sure. I would say probably three things. The first is that I don't get sick. I just don't get sick. I don't get colds. I don't get flus. Whether I'm traveling or not traveling, I do not get sick. Occasionally you'll get like that scratchy throat. That for me used to be the sign that, oh crap, tomorrow I'm going to be sick. Now, if I do get a scratchy throat from like a few nights of like, being at a seminar or a conference, not getting enough sleep, that type of thing, one night of solid sleep and it's gone. The only exception to that is that since I am traveling around the world doing some crazy adventure races and triathlons, I've swam in stagnant water. I've picked up parasites and amoebas and stuff like that, and wound up with some pretty funky stuff going on in my system. Got flesh-eating bacteria on my arms, but like that's not. That's not necessarily like an immune system deficit because I got a weak immune system. It's because I just got freaking attacked by, the bacterial equivalent of a saber-toothed tiger. But that's one thing is I don't get sick, which is really nice. It's really convenient. The other thing is, bloating, gas, cramping, like traveler's constipation, like all these things that a lot of people have to deal with in the background when they're traveling and that are frankly very annoying when you're at a seminar or a conference or you're speaking or something like that and your gut is just not 100%. I don't have to struggle with those anymore. And I do, there is one technique that I'll use if I've just been exposed to crappy food or I've traveled for really long periods of time or like, and I did this twice over the past month because I've literally been all over the world in the past month, like Tel Aviv, London, Asia, California, trip to Disneyland with my kids, like all over the place. I do some really brief internal detoxes and cleanses, and this is weird, but it's still something that, again, we've lost it from Eastern medicine, and it's really, really powerful at cleaning out the system when you travel because you tend to build up a lot of toxins. You tend to get gummed up. I'll use enemas, and I actually travel with like a portable enema kit, and we'll do about once every couple of weeks or so an actual it's called a coffee enema, and you can Google it. I've written articles on these before, and they're incredible at clearing out your liver, clearing out your gut, literally making you feel clean as a whistle and just boom, ready to go. I mean, you literally feel like a newborn baby after you do one of these things. And it's weird. I get, a lot of people like, oh, I'm not going to put some of my butt and, hold it in there. But it's honestly like, it's not that weird. A lot of cultures have done it for a long period of time. It's just like Western medicine is all, iffy about that stuff. But, what I'm getting at here is that now that I take care of my gut, I don't struggle a lot with any of those things when I'm traveling. So, bloating, gas, constipation, all those things that I used to have to deal with, especially when I would get on the road. And that means that you don't have to be that person on the airplane who's trying to hold in a fart for 2 hours, which I know a lot of people have experienced. And then the last thing I would say is now when I travel, a lot of times I'm stage speaking and I have to be there on stage 100% with my brain fired on. And that can be difficult to do when you have that brain fog and that disruption of the electrochemical gradient that I talked about. So for me, I'm able to stay on top of my game mentally when I really need to be on top of my game, mentally, rather than having like the brain fog or that slight slowness of cognitive performance that can tend to occur when you travel. So that's another thing that I've really found. And, probably the thing that makes the biggest dent in that is like the use of antioxidants when traveling. I think it's the free radical buildup and the neural inflammation that can tend to kind of hold you back from peak cognitive performance when you're on the road. So those would be the three biggest benefits that I've seen is just like a bulletproof immune system, loss of like gas, bloating, constipation, things of that nature, and then also enhanced mental performance.
Yeah, the mental performance is the thing that, even more so gets me super excited. And so a lot of people, including myself, like when you travel a lot, fatigue also like hits in. Like you haven't done anything, right? You've been sitting, in the air, but for hours, and then you arrive wherever you are. You haven't really done anything, but you're just super tired. And like, whenever if you talk to like I would talk to my parents, they'd be like, "Oh, you've been traveling. You must be really tired."
Yeah.
But like for me, I'm like,
yeah.
Well, like I haven't really done anything. So doing all these routines and sticking with these habits that you talked about, are they also very helpful for counteracting fatigue?
Yeah, you mean like when you get done with traveling and you arrive somewhere at like noon and you've got the whole day and you're like, I don't want to work out,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to work, I just want to maybe let's just like sit in my hotel room and watch ESPN. Yes, it helps a ton with that type of stuff. The trick is to make it all into a routine, right? Like even in the last 25 minutes, we just like covered a ton of different things that you can do. And the trick is to create your routine and let it become a routine. Like a lot of this stuff is just like second nature to me now. You know, get off the plane, pop the charcoal, a few antioxidants, glutathione under the tongue, boom, go. You know, 2 minutes in the bathroom at the airport. So, you know, once you make this stuff a routine, yeah, I mean, it's easy peasy.
Awesome, man. And so if someone is going to really just grab one thing from this conversation we had, you know, because a lot of times people get overloaded and they're just like, I just can't do any of this because it just seems so daunting. If someone's going to grab one thing from this conversation we just had and you're like, you know, if you're going to be traveling, at least do this, what would be that non-negotiable?
Two things. First of all, mindset. Don't abuse your body. Don't just like throw a bunch of travel at your body and look at everybody else around you in their suit and their shiny shoes, and if you assume that they look, feel, and perform just great and that they're not doing anything. Usually the people who are traveling a lot and doing really well, they're using a lot of techniques in order to do this. So understand that your body can't just take on a bunch of travel and just bounce right back because you are doing push-ups and sit-ups or something like that. Like you got to do a lot more than just that to stay fit when you travel and stay healthy. That would be one thing. And then I would say the other biggest takeaway would be to have a plan, right? So go listen to this podcast again, maybe with like a notepad out, write down all the things that you want to implement, and then just turn that into your plan. Understand that for the first few times that you travel, it'll feel inconvenient, like you're doing all these extra steps, just like when you first start off a workout plan or a nutrition plan or anything like that. And then it'll all become second nature. But have a plan and don't abuse your body and take it for granted that it could just soak up all this travel without any damage. So those would be the two main things.
Beautiful, Ben. Well, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your gifts with myself and my audience today. I know it's a huge game changer for me because I'm beginning to travel more, and it's so helpful because any entrepreneur, you can't afford just to have downtime where you're just not on. Like it's not something you can deal with. So thank you so much. And I know you got to run. So real quick, man, where can people find out more about Ben Greenfield?
Go to bengreenfieldfitness.com. I blog there, I podcast there, I've got like a newsletter, all that stuff. So that's the best place to go is bengreenfieldfitness.com.
Awesome, man. So everyone go check Ben out. I've been following him for a little bit. Everything he puts out is gold. It's all research-backed, and it's a great place to get reliable information about health and performance. So, Ben, thank you again for coming on, man, and hope to get you again soon, man.
Yes. See you in an airport somewhere.
Take care, brother.
Later.